E.T. here. Information for this video comes from Tommy Burns, Canada's Unknown World Heavyweight Champion. It's a book by Dan McCaffrey. Buy it new. It comes from other sources too. And this is former champion Tommy Burns, the smallest but among the most athletic of all heavyweight titleists before or since. Now, E.T. has uploaded a few videos on Burns that emphasize just how good a fighter he was and his top performances in other sports, for example, lacrosse. But most remember Burns as the champion who supposedly ducked and then lost to, which he did, the great Jack Johnson. The existing film of that fight, plus numerous books, movies, documentaries, understandably elevate Johnson, but in so doing, denigrate Burns, who drew no color line. Nor, he wrote, and I'm quoting him, do I bar any man in the world. He actually sought fights with Sam McVeigh and Sam Langford and other black fighters. He won most fights by KO against the best of his day before meeting Johnson. He's the only heavyweight champion to fight 2 title bouts in one night. Yes, I know that George Foreman took on 5 at one time, not at one time, but on the same day, but he was not champion at the time. Burns got the fastest knockout as champion, 1 minute and a half, I think, and he holds the record for 8 consecutive knockouts as champ. I think that is still in effect. You smart guys, check that out. Burns was in the fight game for money. And while his popularity was down in the U.S. because he was a Canadian, at a time when many in the U.S. believed that only an American should hold that title, he's also unpopular because he will fight anybody regardless of race or religion. So he sails to Paris for money-making fights. And once there, he meets with Sam McVeigh, who's looking to make money too. Burns wants to have a fight with McVeigh, but no promoter would come up with the $11,000 that was demanded by Tommy. He actually anticipates having it out eventually with Jack Johnson, and he demands a whole lot of money because he wants to make as much of it before meeting Johnson. He knows he's going to lose to Jack Johnson. Burns did, in Paris, take on the rugged Joseph Dewey Smith, who at the time was a young, promising contender, though not much today is known about Smith. Was he Jewish? Well, new evidence suggests his name was Goldblum or something like that, and that he was. Was he from England? Don't know. Was he from South Africa? Maybe. Was he champion of South Africa? Don't know. What is known is Smith beat William Iron Egg for the British heavyweight title. And he could punch. He was very large for the time. He had 3-inch, about 7-centimeter height advantage over Burns. And he had 24 pounds, 11 kilos? Something like that. Heavier than Burns. The fight occurs on April 18, 1908, about the time that Bell and Howell in the U.S. introduces the motion picture camera that became the most popular among movie producers in New York and later a place called Hollywood. Anyway, back to the fight. It's taking place in Paris, described by the Chicago Tribune as the biggest affair of the kind ever held in Paris. Many seats were sold to the city's upper crust, including Baron Rothschild himself. More about him later. When champion Burns met Smith for the signing of the contract, Burns is dressed up like a dandy, as they were called then, overcoat with velvet collar. He has a swagger cane, and he gets under Smith's skin by mocking him. He said to Smith, "Sign these articles like a good fella. Don't be a quitter. I'll let you stay a round or 2. These words, according to the fight referee Eugene Corey, gave the champion Burns a psychological edge. Now the fight, Burns needs that upper hand, considering Smith's much larger physique, thick neck resting between 2 enormous shoulders. Well, here's how it went. Smith pretty much carried the fight to the quicker Burns for 4 rounds. But he was knocked out in round 5 by what the Tribune called a terrific right to Smith's jaw. But that's not the whole story. As the crowd is cheering, a camera, maybe a light, exploded. It set fire to a string of banners and flags up above. Now, this has potential to catch the whole place on fire and stampede the crowd. Fortunately, everybody remained calm and the fire was put out. Post-fight, Burns is in his dressing room and he meets a new pal, Baron Rothschild himself, probably the only man in the world who could rival John D. Rockefeller for money. He invites Burns and Burns' wife Jewel to his estate, where pictures were taken, I don't have any, of them together. And apparently there's a picture somewhere of a rotund, whiskered Rothschild boxing away at Burns. He would go on later to tell everybody he knew that he actually fought the world champion. Rothschild also lent Burns his automobile and put on a huge party honoring Burns. Burns later described it as full of beautiful women, superb trees, and the Baron himself wearing knee-length black tights. After beating Smith, Burns went to Australia to knock out, I think it was Bill Squires twice and Bill Lang. Then he lost his title, and more importantly, any future big money fights, to Jack Johnson. That was in Sydney. After that, Burns racked up a sporadic succession of wins, off and on, it's not fighting much, against good opposition, including Bill Lang and Arthur Pelkey. But in 1920, old, terribly out of shape, he lost to an able Joe Beckett and then quit boxing for good. Tommy Burns died virtually forgotten in May of 1955. That was Vancouver, BC. His reputation tarnished here in this country, the U.S., because he was a foreigner, a Canadian, who had the temerity to claim the title that belonged only to Americans, and more importantly, refusing to acknowledge an artificial color line. Burns was originally buried in a pauper's grave. Only 4 people attended. It is E.T.'s guess that had not Jack Johnson been dead already for 9 years, and Sam Langford so feeble and near death in 1955 that he couldn't move, that both would have been there in Vancouver to honor the great Tommy Burns. Well, that's what E.T. thinks. What do you think? Type in your comments below. Subscribe to this channel. Give a thumb up to this video. You know the drill. Thank you.